Welcome back with the Cymru Cactuars, everybody. My name is Paul, and we are here for the Opus 25 Tears of the Planet set review. I am joined by Jack Canavan.
Hello, everybody.
Jacob Bond.
Evening, folks.
And Paul Fallon.
Hey, everybody.
So we've all had a look at the set and everything, and, got our thoughts together, and, we're just going to see how it goes, right? See, how bad can it be?
Surely not as bad as last set, right?
Last
It'll be good fun.
Right.
Anyway, we'll get there.
First off, not starting too strong. It's Armstrong. It's it's the cycle of monsters this set, right? So the monsters that all are 2 CP and have a sort of discard and kill it ability. This one isn't too bad, having 5k on tap for just getting rid of a card. It just says discard 1 fire card, so it can be anything. And then by paying 1 fire, you can put it in the break zone and do something 7,000 damage. It's okay. Anybody got strong feelings on it?
One of the better ones of these sort of cyclone monsters for sure. If this is the few ones we'll be seeing in a moment, probably aren't even good in a sealed format. So, but they're just weird.
Not many of these are good. This one isn't great, but it's not the worst.
It's a lot of damage effect, and I like how both effects aren't an exact mirror of each other, unlike all of the other ones.
Yeah.
A lot of the other ones.
It would be nicer if it didn't say opponent control, so that you could, have something from Begissa all the time, but,
Oh, that would be grim.
Next up we have Iron Eater. Jacob, take the reins on this one. You're the FF11 boy.
Oh, as you can see, Iron Eater is chilling in Gustaberg in front of Leaping Lizzie in the back there. But as opposed to the card, there's a little bit of an ongoing love for warriors, shall we say, with Hobby Japan, but moving in a slightly different direction. Like, there's a lot of Earth warriors we'll see in a bit, but I don't think the Myth and Musketeer job makes any difference at all whatsoever. I think the only other one we've got at the moment is Zaid, who is not going to be played in Warriors. But yeah, this card, when he enters, if you've got 5 or more Warriors or Job Warriors in your break zone, I thought I read this first as on your board. It's much better than that, but you deal a forward 8k. 3 CP 8k on his own, stats are fine. This card reads as sort of a contest to ward. The 3 CP EX burst, still something 7. I think that not having the EX burst is major. Obviously, I get you can't have the exact same card that just deals 1k extra damage. But I think it's fine. I think this card is decent enough. You probably run it maybe as a one-of in your Warriors list. But yeah, it kind of it's just another ward, but doesn't have EX burst. So I think he's fine.
Personally, 5 in the bin, I think, is too big an ask to be able to make it happen. I'd like it to be the case, but it's just you could just ward is reliable, right? You can always do ward, but 5 in the bin to make sure that it happens. Like, if you draw it early, it means it's never happening. I don't know. I think it's fine, but I don't really see it making the cut, I don't think.
I think it's just a later game search target, like with when people actually search ward off of Tybus now. It's just if you're in that situation.
Yeah, maybe.
It might still be worth just like a 1 or a 2 of in a deck, and if it happens, it happens.
I think, because we've got now the new Volker, which we'll see very shortly.
We'll move straight to Volker because we're talking about Warriors, so we will go straight to Volker.
Yeah. I think though, it's just more than anything now, because you've got Volker, which will be a double searcher, and you've got Tybus, you've got multiple different ways of searching warriors. I think it's fine to have a couple of these tech one-offs, like what we'll see eventually with the new Riku, I think, is a great example as a tech one-of, where it's like, if you want to search it, you can to get a value play, but if there's another play you can make which is likely to be better, then you could very easily pick and choose your sort of warrior path, as it were.
Let's move to Volker then. So, what were they thinking?
You know how good Tivus was? Let's make more of that. Let's just keep going in that direction, please. This is yeah, this one's going to be a doozy, I think. You know, it's very easy to get quite a few bodies out turn one with this.
Yeah, it's.
I think it's important thing I want to say. I think it was originally actually something that you and Steve were talking about on your sort of state of the game bans video on this channel on the YYT. Was that so many of the cards on that list which you didn't like searched for 2 cards.
Yeah.
And this is another one which searches for 2 cards. So that already just feels like it's going to be problematic. So you search for 2 warriors means you guarantee get your Axstar and your Axstar target.
Well,
like,
and the fact that the next one's reduced by 3, so like you can literally pay 8 for this on turn 1, search your Tivus and a card that you don't want, ditch that to play Tivus for 2, then have Tivus search like Mog or something, and then you're set up with 3, you've drawn a card and they can't search next turn. Rough.
Yeah. Amaterasu is alive and well this meta.
I think it's going to have to be. Fortunately, the cost reduction is the same auto ability. So Amaterasu will be devastating to this card. But I think that's probably a good thing. I think it is going to be difficult to play this card a little bit willy-nilly. I think you maybe have to... Obviously, if you have a crap hand and you just got to put something down, then sure, go for it. And, you know, I know from a personal standpoint that most of the games I lose in tournament are when my opponent looks at their hand size and think, well, this is terrible, I'm just going to do this instead, and roll me over with an aggressive start. So, yeah.
How relevant do you reckon the second effect on this will be as well?
Barely. It turns the Mog 6 anti-search, and like if you're not gonna use it for the anti-search, you can just drop it as a 4K bomb, that's fine. But I think the big thing as well is, as we were saying with actually no, we talked about this before stream in terms of warrior backups, because this guy searches for cards, not just forwards. It's the same with the second ability. So if you have warrior backups, those warrior backups that you might be able to crack also hit for 4K, and that is not irrelevant at all.
No,
yeah, well, especially lead me on to the next point. Is there many of those that can crack?
Well, I was going to say as well that if you look in this set as well, like 4K has always been like, oh man, it's not 5K, but like 4K might be a relevant number now, finally. So, yeah, I think that it's going to be killing more than you expect.
It just makes blocking even harder as well, I guess, because they're always going to trade up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, your ward,
okay.
You know, your wards can block for like 11k in theory, which is a lot.
I think in terms of Legends, this is one of those cards that I doesn't really excite me, because it does exactly what it says, and there's like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's not really a lot of depth, but there's not a lot of imagination to a card like this. It's just, it is what it is, and you can't really be shocked of what the opponent's going to do next when it appears on the board. But I don't think it's bad. I think it's going to be hugely meta, and it's going to be. Get your full arts, because this is probably the chase one, right? Man-eating bun.
Yeah.
From this set, probably. Yeah, it's definitely up there.
Let's move on to a standard unit, Avalanche member. I I think this is pretty cool in terms of like standard unit stuff. Like, I don't think this will see like standard play, but you know, more standard units like this, like, you know, discard a category 7 character when you do choose 147k. It's not a relevant number, you know. It's
7k is a lot, you know.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of 7 characters to set as well. So in sealed formats, I can see picking these up isn't going to feel bad.
I think
4 CP for a body and a 7k shoot. It's solid.
Yeah. I don't think there's too much to say about it, but you know, it's cool. I want to see more of this sort of thing. I think this is something that people can possibly get quite creative around as well. But you know, we'll see, I guess.
A lot of the standard units this set, I think, they're very much jamming in on what they need to be.
Yeah. Right. Well, next up we have Garnet Ifrit. The cycle of summons this set, which say that you can reduce the cost of the summon by removing a backup. And this one deals something 9k and something else 4k. So it can hit your Magissa, which is good. But you would need, if to hit your Magissa, you would need to hit something on your opponent's side of the board. I don't know. Anybody got strong feelings on this one? Because I don't see it really making the cut.
I think Paul Rampere is still crying that every single effect is removing backup still.
Yeah.
We haven't seen. I don't know if you've seen a backup breaking your anything breaking your own backups. It's probably sewn on, I think. So yeah, I think if this said break, would it have been that bad? I don't know. But yeah, I think 2 CP 9k is fine. One thing we did get confirmed is that you can't obviously use the backup you're dulling to pay for the 2 CP to then break, because it's before you pay the cost.
Yeah.
So you either have to play something first to break the dulled backup, or just cry about it and, you know, spend an extra CP, I guess.
I would. Sorry, you go on.
It's competing with so many named Ifrits that just don't do enough at the moment. That I just don't know if this would go in. That the 1-drop one that does 10k, I still think is the best one you're going to use. I
think it's the EX burst one personally, but would it have killed this to say remove from the game on death or something? You know, like.
I think when it comes to removal cards, they have to do a little bit more for it to be relevant. Like, because when it comes to summons that say get rid of a forward, like, there's not really much better than what, say, like an Odin can do, especially now on Odin with the new with the priming Rama, right? If a card's explicit purpose is to kill something, then I think it has to be either ridiculously efficient or give you a little something else. And I don't think the 4k damage to something else is really gonna be the thing that breaks this card into the meta.
Trying to think of things like, left ear and stuff like that increase the damage a summon will do. Even then, 4 up to 5 is still quite a tough ask. 10's nice, but 5 on top, you would still be needing a separate effect as well as the left ear on board to get that last piece of damage in consistently to make it a double kill. It feels quite lacking in that respect.
Yeah. Well, we'll move on to... let's do all the cadets, I suppose, with the shocker of Ace, which, when we saw all the cadets get spoiled, we were like, well, we know exactly where we're going because the Lightning Ace is so good and that's going to be the one. And then this sort of comes out of nowhere that's like so malleable that it can go in fire decks and it can go in cadet decks. Yeah, crazy. It's a 6 cost that doesn't cost 6, which is Opus 1 starter deck as hell.
Yeah.
But yeah, how cool is that? Like, even if you want to pay 6 for him on turn 1, like, he's just going to deal a point of damage. That's pretty legit, I think.
I think
well, he won't deal damage on turn 1, but Oh, 5 points of damage or less. Yes, he will. Never mind.
He will.
Yeah.
He can deal the 6 point of damage and no more, unless you do something a little bit sneaky with the Lightning Behemoth monster from last set, where you increase the amount of damage he deals by 1, and then he'll deal both points of damage at the same time with your opponent's on 5, which, you know, I'm not saying isn't going to work, but get creative, people.
Oh man, that's cool. Would he? Yeah, he would do that with the behemoth. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know how reliable it's going to be, but I think you could. I think it would sneak another victory in here.
It would be funny
somewhere.
to see.
And obviously, the damage is at the end of the turn, so it can't be Amaterasu. So
I think they've designed these aces perfectly, and like you're hitting the point now where you kind of want to run multiple aces in your deck. So the lightning one obviously lets you discard cards from hand, and this one has an S effect. So you're not really in a situation where drawing more of them is necessarily a bad thing.
I do think, though, a lot of the way Fire's going at the moment, in my eyes, seems to be quite rampy. Like, you kind of want to get to like 4 or 5 backups fairly quickly and then play efficiently. Like, it reads similar to the old Rain or the Ject, for example, where, you know. So I think, and where fire characters care about more fire characters being on the field, and so I feel like mono fire being that kind of just spend the first 2-3 turns playing backups and nothing else, and then also running through a couple of goblins, because obviously every goblin you have down the 1/1 which cracks for 3k, that's going to reduce this card as well. So I think it's fine. I think it's going to be pretty easy to play this on, turn 3, turn 4 for free just from ramping up.
Let's talk about the rest of the cadets while we're here. We'll start off with the 2 that won't see play. So we've got Sice, and the Sice from Opus 22, I believe, is so good that if you're going to play a cadets deck, it's going to be that one. If this one also said or fire characters, I think that you could conceivably see a way to play this in like sort of mono fire decks, so just like a fast weenie sort of thing. But otherwise, its power is bad, its damage is bad, and its requirement is bad. Anybody think otherwise?
No, it's
no, not a great card.
I do agree. If this had fire characters as well, like the Ace did, then 3k entry, 3k attack, 3k on a goblin. That's not bad for one CP. But
poor man's. Is it Ilua that had a similar effect?
Yeah.
So you could buff it by 3 for each backup. Yeah.
Then we have Trey, which you cannot play because of the Trey backup, which is sort of one of the reasons you want to play cadets at all with Lightning now. Which is a real shame because his text is great. 40p 8k, and then choose one forward and deal 2,000 damage for each class 0 cadet you control, which means that like it will die. A card like this probably couldn't say fire character, right? Or maybe it could. Would that be broken? I don't know.
20k damage.
But like if you're gonna try and build fire wind, maybe, which I don't know if you should. This conceivably can see play in that, but I mean, yeah, it ain't this one. But the one that it absolutely is Deuce. This is the closest thing we got to the card that we needed in the deck, which we're saying like we need the 4 CP backup, which it could be called, as long as it's called like Deuce or Rem or something that can search for other cadet characters so that you can search backups. That'd be the glue that holds the entire thing together. We didn't get that, but we did get this, which is about as close to that as you can get. You don't have the name in Fire or Lightning, so Fire Lightning's looking pretty good, right?
It's very frustrating, as you said, where you don't have that searcher. Because as much as I agree, this card is good for a cadets deck, and I think you're almost certainly going to be running enough Class 0 cadets to hit off this card every single time. But I think the main problem is, and I was talking about this with someone else earlier, where because none of the characters are searchable, specifically none of the backups are searchable, they kind of all have to be 3-ofs, because like, a lot of them you do want to see. So it's just going to mean drawing feels quite inconsistent at times. You're going to see like all of the same backup, or like none of the right ones, whatever. And I think almost an absolute banger for Class 0 cadets. But I don't think they're unplayable. But this card definitely helps with that, at least.
Yeah, I don't think there would have been a harm of making this cost 4 and then just saying search for 1.
Even if it said something like look at the top 7. Like,
it just feels like they're keeping searching deliberately attached to Aurasia and Rem.
Yeah.
And nobody else gets it.
It's fine when it's soiree, isn't it? And you get the entire deck in one set. But like, maybe that's the thing. Maybe Amber has them scared.
And you play one backup that then says you can pay for any of them with any CP.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, as if we did have an Amber situation, then it would be like, if it wasn't fire, you have a fire backup, comfortably searching a good lightning and a good wind backup, which is going to be very good, even not in a cadets deck. So, but maybe, to be honest with you, maybe we just make the backup search for backups only. You know, I think maybe not being able to search for forwards would be frustrating, but just give us something, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that, to be honest. Like, just I would. My rating on cadets this set entirely is almost.
They're getting
as it has been every single time we've had more cadets, and every single time it's like, oh, this is so close, and then next time, oh, it's so close, but they leave too long and too little in between, and it slips away every time.
Next up we have our other legend. We have Cloud. So the biggest thing everyone said is, oh my god, would it have killed this guy to have been a soldier? He's good. It's the best thing I can say of that. I think that the getting 2 of the 4 modes is really good. So it's choose 1 forward at 8k, choose 1 monster, break it. Choose 1 monster, break it is legit for fire because they have no way around that. Choose up to 2 cards in your opponent's break zone, remove them, and draw 1 card, and play 1 category 7 character across 4 or less from your hand onto the field, which again is probably one of the better things that it can do. Fallon.
So it's a shame this isn't a soldier, but I think this still reads as quite a decent card for Cat 7. And as you say, breaking a monster in fire is basically unheard of. I think there was that medium Ifrita that didn't really set the world alight.
That's pretty much the only thing,
That's like the only other thing in fire that breaks monsters. But no, you've got quite some quite diverse modes here. And you may end up playing this in a soldier's deck just because, as we may end up discussing, they are going to be quite a few different colours, and getting around your colour diversity is quite interesting. You know, it is category 7 character as well, so playing a backup from hand that may search or something is quite insane potentially. I don't know. All around, I think this is quite a good legend. I think that, you know, the modes on there are nice and diverse. You will always get some kind of value play out of it. You know, it's one to watch for sure.
You're going to be hard pressed to not ever be able to do at least 2 of the effects.
Yeah,
I think I do like the card, but is this more playable than the dual element Cloud? Because you're going to be playing the same elements more than likely, but the dual element Cloud
completely different.
Great zone.
Completely different, I think.
Yeah,
they do not occupy the same space. The thing is with the dual element cloud is you are very much just forced into Avalanche Operatives, where this is like you can get soldiers, so you can play the new Sephiroth for free. You want to play the Marlene backup, you want to play the Jessie backup, you want to play practically anything, it will do it. I personally I'm sort of talking myself into it. I think I need to see how it feels before I really say if I like it or not. But from like a logistic point of view, I don't like it as a 5 CP 9K card, because it's like, well, what space does this take in the deck that you were already playing in there? So like, if it like it's sort of like would occupy the same space as Tyvus, and Tyvus gets something from the deck and plays it for free. This costs you an extra 2 CP to play something from hand, but it's also got the versatility of the other stuff it does. I think it's really hard to properly really say what it does until I really start playing with it. So I'm completely on the fence with this one. I don't know.
Its biggest competition is probably the light cloud, right?
In soldiers, I'd say, yeah, definitely.
Not even in a Cat 7 deck?
No, you wouldn't need it for that, because you're going to have Barrett play Jessie. You can search for anything you need anyway. But we'll get to Barrett a bit later.
Oh, yeah.
Next up, we have Cloud's, definitely not Cloud's dad, Glenn.
Oh, Lord, here we go.
Yeah, go on, Paul, go for it.
Well, I mean, you know, as an avid Soldier fan last set, I had to make do with a very, very 3 out of 5 deck, shall we say. And, you know, I could only dream of a card this crazy to come along. I mean, this wasn't part of the spoiler season either. This was something we had to find out when the whole set existed. And, you know, again, very much like Volker, this is quite devastating if it gets Amaterasu'd. But if it doesn't, you are, like, potentially so far ahead in terms of potential advantage. And yeah, I think this is going to be the reason you see a lot of soldier decks coming up in the meta. I think a lot of people are going to try and get this to work. You know, there's a decent array of targets, some in wacky colors that we weren't expecting, but extra new names is never a bad thing. You know, I think this is going to see, you're going to see a lot of this, especially at the earlier stages of locals. Over the next few weeks, just because I think there's a really high ceiling on a card like this. And I think a lot of people are going to want to try it.
I think that's what I mean in the difference between something like this and Volker. Volker, you read that, you know exactly what it does. But like with this, what soldiers is going to pop out, you know? It's he doesn't have to search. It's like Sung as well. He doesn't have to play the ones he searches. So
that's right.
You can have the 2s in your hand and then search, you know, another Glenn or something. Like it's I think I said to you guys as well, like when I saw this and when I read it and realized it was a rare and doesn't have a full art, I was like, well, this has got monthly promo written all over it. So
absolutely. This is just a really exciting card. Always nice to see new names for a theme that come in as well. But yeah, especially what you were saying with how you can search for 2 non-playable targets and just play the targets you want from your hand. So it's that extra bit of versatility that makes it quite strong. Quite looking forward to trying this out.
Should we talk about his mates here then as well? Because I suppose it makes more sense to talk about them here than it does later. Because we won't be doing the Archfiends until we get to Golbez. So first of all, which impressed absolutely no one, we had Matt spoiled first. At the time, it didn't look great. It still doesn't look amazing, but it's not terrible now. Now that you know you can easily cheat him out and everything like that. But
well, it kind of goes nicely with the wind one, which we'll see very shortly. So with that second effect, and honestly, like I think not being able to be targeted by abilities is nice when you're wanting to, you know, play Glenn early and be so aggressive. I think having some form of protection is very nice.
Yeah, it's 5k. I think is probably the main thing that holds him back because he doesn't protect himself.
No, that's right. I mean, I think that's a fair barrier. It puts him in like the same sort of zone as Auron or Charlotte. You know, these little weenie monsters weenie forwards, that you play in a themed deck to help that deck succeed and sort of magnetize any of your effects away from your opponent, so that you have to make them work that little bit harder to break down your wall. I don't know. I think it's got quite a bit of potential.
Very much a lightning rod card.
Well,
Like,
they won't be aiming for that when they could be aiming for Lucia. Jesus Christ. Well, good thing this isn't a fire or ice card, right, guys?
Oh, absolutely. It had to be completely off element to make you work for the insane value that this can be. You know, activating all the job soldier, that does include backups. So, I mean, if you're running a section of those as well, you're getting quite a bit of CP back at the end of the turn, which is never anything to be sniffed at. And, you know, dulling any 3 to draw a card, which is something, again, that you can do near the end of turns to get some extra value out of the deck. I just wasn't expecting it. It's very much welcome.
So not
only
only
they all come in.
Well,
Free draw.
I was going to say, like, not only do they now all have first strike and are all going to discard something, now they all have brave.
Yeah. Pseudo brave is good enough, and that, you know, it's quite alarming. You know, the possibilities of this. You know, and obviously Glenn can just play 2 of these off-color things straight from your deck for you, or from your hand, and search for another 2 things that you need later. You know, I think this is quite exciting time to be a Soldiers fan.
Playing Glenn, if Genesis is already on field, your opponent might as well just be like, cool.
Yeah.
Good game, bud.
Never mind.
Yeah, if they don't have the Ami and you play Glenn, it's like, well, yeah, thanks. You know, it's
Get your foils of all of
Army
these. For God's sake, buy your foils.
Yep, definitely.
Speaking of buy your foils, security officer, man, I went.
Oh, yes.
I hunted high and low for those foil humans for my Gigawall deck, and well, friendship ended with human. Now security officer is my best friend.
Well, this is what, the 3rd set in a row where they've one-upped the previous standard unit backups.
It feels like that, but no, the crystal one was the crystal samurai was like Opus 21. So
okay, it just feels it's all blurred into one.
Yeah, but in recent memory, the power creep is very real.
In mono fire, obviously, like human's still great, but like in something that's just going to have like a backup list where you got a choice whether to draw the card or deal the damage, it's excellent. There's not really too much to say about it. This is definitely on my foil buying menu. I want this definitely.
I'm just glad it said opponents for it, so it's not another Magissa backup.
Yeah, exactly. To be honest with you, again, this is another backup cycle from this set. This might be the best one. I think the lightning one's pretty good and the ice one isn't bad, but you know, all good stuff really, isn't it? So yeah, don't sleep on these cards. That, like, they don't look particularly exciting, but they are way more than you think. Right, well, here's an interesting one. Salamander 3. Anyone got strong feelings on this one?
Actually, I kind of really like this card. If people are unaware, I am quite the avid lover of the whole crystal mechanics. Every single set, basically, since they come out, I've tried to make them work in a new deck. And I think every single time he attacks, being able to do 9k to 2 forwards on a 3 CP little guy, that's not a small amount. Also, like, I mean, his card named Guts Go being his only kind of like quote drawback in playing him, I don't think that's ever. I think it'll only matter if you wanted to try and play this in a Magissa deck, because obviously you want to play Guts Go, and I don't think that is going to be the case. But my kind of thought is, well, you want to, because it's when he enters a field as well, he gets to deal the damage. So I think setting up double crystal to immediately throw out when you play him, and then sure, boom, boom, double crystal, 2 things, probably dead. That's nice. And then every single turn is either like, well, do I pay? Have I got the crystals to pay? No, cool. I can just pay 5 CP instead, which is like,
hey man,
really not too bad for 2 lots of 9k.
Doesn't Jack Garland get them back?
he would, yeah.
Definitely does get them back, yeah.
It's just the perfect card in that they've given you the option to pay crystals or CP. They've not just hamstrung you into one or the other.
That's a lot of CP though.
It is, but people have been playing that Earth Gilgamesh that you pay 3 to kill 1 for.
That can kill monsters.
Admittedly.
I think really this card is wanting you to play the 2 crystals, and if you can't, it's like, oh well, you can pay the 5 as well if you want. You know, if you need to, but yeah, realistically, the crystals are going to be where it's coming from, and Fire has kind of like dabbled in crystals, where it's like there's some really, really good crystal cards in Fire, like specifically Cyan, and the whole fact that the crystal generating backups are Samurai, that on its own makes crystals in Fire pretty good, but not really had much payoffs outside of Cyan to really do anything with them. And I think being able to spend 2 of those crystals every single turn to deal 9k to 2 things is like a decent payoff. Even if you just get it done once, like it's, you know, just you can just play another one. I think, the fact that it says on enter as well as on attack, like you've got to kill this thing. You can't let this thing just exist, right? So
you got to answer it. I was just going to say, is this the only crystal card this set?
There's something else I think, but there's not many.
I think it is just this off the top of my head.
This is a good direction for crystals to go in, having the alternate cost be not crystals. You know, as sad as it is to say, you know, this is probably like what more crystal cards should try and do to make themselves relevant, I think, because crystals have never really set the meta alight. And, you know, as I've said before, like a good crystal card should have a way to generate them and spend them so that you're not relying on other pieces to fall in line. But no, having the cost be, you know, regular CP or crystals is a good workaround for it as well, I think. You know, just making sure that, you know, you're never waiting for another card to use all of its effects.
I think for me, I'm not really keen on the fact that it's got 7k. I think I'd have liked 8 before I really liked this card. And being, like you said, like you go through all this terrifying dragon is just killed by avalanche member next turn. Like,
you still kill 2 things with it, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
And again, this has to be the target for the avalanche members to kill, otherwise it's going to continue wiping half your opponent's board every single turn.
I think it's 7k by design, so it's not just going to sit there, at least in more limited formats of you going, like, all of my ping damage to 7k, I can't kill it, and it's killing 2 forwards of mine every turn.
I will say as well, to be honest with you, I'm glad this is 7k, because if it was an 8k, it would probably cost 4, and I think this costing 3 is a hell of a lot better.
No, I agree. I don't love it, but I like the design of it. So we'll see how that one goes, I guess. Palom. There's a new Palom, there's a new Porum. They're both backups. They're both searchable by Leonora, and they're both pretty good. This is a black mage. For what it's worth on that. Discarding a card to deal something for 3k is not great. Discarding a Porum to deal something 7,000 damage is also not great, because you're going to try and play as little of the backups as you can. But, you know, it's fine, right? You can hit your guys as well, so Magissa if need be.
Being searchable off of Leonora really is like the big thing with this and the other one. Helping, because the other Palom that was being played as a backup searchable off of Leonora is the one where it deals damage on entry, extra damage if you control a Porum. So it's kind of like down and that's it. But I think having the opportunity to deal 3k if you need it, like, that's fine. That means that Amaterasu maybe can, you know, be 5 CP and then deal 11k damage. That's not terrible. But Yeah, no, I don't think it's too bad. 2 CP as well. They're both playable turn 1. It can discard light and dark cards as well. That's not irrelevant.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Buy foils, searchable backups, really good.
Fire into water into fire. Playable. Let's go.
Hell House. Interesting card. There's cycles of monsters this set as well that are just weird or do other things. This card is very flavorful. It does the more you attack Hell House, the harder it gets to punch back.
I agree.
It's interesting. Damage 6 is like the worst like damage keyword you could get because it means it's going to be really hard to get online. And not die as well. But I suppose if you do, like, he is going to be doing an 8k board wipe like every time he attacks. It's cool. I don't know if it will see standard play, but it's definitely cool.
Yeah, I mean, damage 6 rules it out of ever being used in sealed, I suppose. So no need to worry there. But, maybe there is a place for it in sort of mono-fire decks that sort of don't mind going up to a high damage ceiling. Fire doesn't typically have a lot of EX bursts in a mono-fire deck. You have some, but never loads. So it's hard to see exactly where this fits in. I mean, maybe the 3k damage to everything is enough with stuff like Left Ear and... I forget his name, the monster.
Manasvin
Warneck.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, it reminds me a lot of... Do you remember when... I'm going to forget the name now. The Royal Ripeness.
Yeah.
That card. It reminds me a lot of Royal Ripeness. Obviously, having to get to damage 3 isn't ideal. But AoE damage is always good, I would say. 8k AoE damage on damage 6 is a hell of a lot. But no, I think 3k damage AoE, and then you're probably going to be running like Djinn monster as well, buffs it by a k. You could definitely run the War Machines and then Left Ears. And I think it's very plausible that you could buff this up to be something of a nuisance. I think it's interesting for sure.
I mean, you pair this up with like Salamander Summon from a few sets back, and then suddenly, you've got a quite manageable quite reasonable to obtain 8k board wipe. It's just not.
Even something like Ifrita as well does AoE damage, and then if you're running Ifrita, maybe you're running the 1-drop Ifrit as well, and then obviously you can do 5k to 2 different things, swing, making it 8k. So I think there's some interesting stuff you could pull off with this possibly.
It's something to watch, but I don't think it's not an obvious choice in a lot of things. The deck's ideas at the moment.
No, definitely not.
And the fact that it's a monster and that you activate as well, it means you can keep it out of the way until it's needed. It's a 3-cost monster, so it's slightly harder to kill than most.
Say ending fire on somewhat of a downer. We have Red 13. Not really too much to say about this one.
Spoilers: this is not the best Red 13 in the set.
I don't think it's. I wouldn't say it's probably one of the worst in the game, but
it probably is.
As a 1 CP card, it's bad for bots. It's as a warrior, it's bad for warriors. And then you've just got FF7 text on it, which is not great, to be honest. Obviously, being playable from the break zone is really interesting. But would
it have killed this card if he was playable in your opponent's turn? Like, that would have given it a use case.
Even as a combat trick in your own turn.
Yeah, because it's only during your main phase.
Yeah.
Like, oh, nice, cool.
Yeah, they were way too careful to make this card balanced by making it unplayable.
All right, we're going to go from strength to strength. We're going to move into ice, and oh god, somebody talk about Gimme Cat. I don't want to hear about it.
Oh dear,
this card's amazing. It's like the best one in the set.
How long before this hits a ban list? Too long, probably.
It's got Gasper Thaumaturge, Vietnam flashbacks all over it for me. You know, this is potential to be very degenerate and spooky, and the fact that it's multiplayable as well, you know, is a lot going on here. You know, it's
just that case of speaking to me, like Unalesco was such a carefully designed card to fix the old problems, and then they just went, here you go. have this.
And Unalesco.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can have both and all the extra discard effects we were
And
potentially
Go-Go.
doing this.
Let's get back Go-Go.
Yeah, they get that, you know, pair it up with Go-Go and it becomes very smelly very quickly, you know. This is
You
discard
discard
two's
one, they
more
discard
nice.
two.
Yeah. Thank God it says ice card though, and not just like discard a card.
Yeah, but the other effect says random.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it does.
Mm-hmm.
Never clocked onto that bit.
So Go-Go
And
randomly
that costs
discarding
one.
2.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be unplayable. It reaches a. People are going to figure out how the best way of playing this card is, and it is going to be unfun.
Yeah.
Welcome back, my nerds. How we missed you not.
Here we go. So look, let's give Necron a battering, shall we?
From a great card to a terrible card.
Oh man, sometimes Necron will get the respect he deserves, but it's not this day.
It is not this card. It is not this day. And, you know, to go from a common like Gimme Cat to a common like this just shows you how varied and wildly different commons can be in this game.
Gimme Cat, don't give me Necron.
Yep. Gimme Cat, keep your Necrons, okay?
So we'll move into Gipal. There are some really cool FF10-2 cards this set. This is one of the lesser ones, I'd say. But Dulling and Freezing Forward is not bad, but maybe just, you know, you could be playing Last Well and doing this off of 2 rather than 5. And the rest of it is just, you know, the category 10 characters get 2k and not chosen by abilities, which is fine. But this is not usually the sort of thing that makes the cut, right?
You made a good point to me yesterday, I think, Jacob, when you were like, if they hadn't tacked on the Dull Freeze effect, it's just not an ice card.
Yeah, it reads like a wind card until you get to Dull and Freeze. By the way,
Yeah.
what do you mean?
We'll
But
just
yeah, it's 5 CPs. It's you're not like the protection sure is nice. The 2k power isn't negligible. But it says choose a forward as well. Like, come on, guys. It's 2025. We're not freezing forwards anymore.
we're playing Last Well. Last Well's discarding as well. Like,
Yeah. The protection effect's nice, but then you just look at a Cat 10 deck anyway, and you're going to have the Water Oran and the Water Kamari that just say you have to choose us anyway. So it's a bit obsolete, I think.
banging through.
Maybe you pair it up with the Riku and have it as part of a Cat 10 wind-based toolbox where you can play this out with the Riku backup.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, yeah, it's not really going to set the world on fire, unfortunately.
Making up a little bit of time through the ice cards here. Jack, you liked Chimera Brain.
I want to try it. Like, costing 3 is the biggest drawback of it, but I think it is quite
9k
interesting.
is nice, man.
9k, and it's just like, if they ever attack with anything that doesn't have Brave, it's immediately online.
It's a very good blocker, which is ironic because it wants to attack to get the freeze. But
Yes, but that's the view I've got for it. It's more just a card you can just sit up there all the time as a blocker, ready to go. And it's hard to remove because obviously monster removal is still very, very lacking in this game.
And that's great in Earth and has been a viable thing before with what was it? Was it Tight? What was he called? The big boy that froze when you attack with him, but he was massive. Oh god, what was he called? That
That's
Earth
one a
monster.
postcard.
I'm gonna look for it now. It was like Opus 4, I think.
what card? Sorry.
The Earth monster that like
Gigas.
Gigas, that's it. And he
Yeah,
froze.
4CP.
Like
He
that
didn't
was a
activate it.
viable thing to like turn off just attackers in general. Like it really was. So like, I
I love that card.
that is great.
Like one of my favorite monsters.
Ice can't really spend 3 CP on something that isn't completely proactive in controlling the board state, right? So that's why I don't see it.
I'm going to test it, but yeah, I'm not saying it's going to set the world on fire, but I'm curious to see how it will do.
Edward, it's a searchable king backup.
It's not a bad backup at all, really, for that reason. There's quite an interesting way you can discard. You can stack the effects with a discard in between to get both of them to happen at the same time.
Gimme cat.
Yeah, because it reads that the first effect chooses and then resolves, but the second effect checks on stack. So if they got 3 or more, that effect will go on the stack. The first effect will go on the stack anyway, but then checks if they've got 2 or less after the fact. So yeah, they have 3 or more, they discard. And then you discard again before the first ability resolves, which is a funny, quite a cute little manipulation of the stack to make something kind of good, especially, with Gimme Cat being very much sleeved up this set, so.
And your same complaint that you just had for Gipple, he says character.
I'll say character.
Yeah, man. Completely legit. Really legit.
2 CP less, and
searchable.
And with a discard and searchable,
But unfortunately, is a contested name within ice decks.
Yes.
So, see how it goes. I think I would rate this under buy your foils though. I think it's a common, get your foils, because this could conceivably see play.
I mean, if ice water ever becomes a thing, this is like the dream thing to get from Sarah. So
we've got a couple of warp cards this set. We have Karasame. In ice deck, you're not playing this one. Yeah.
Nope.
He might be the
2 great ones.
He might be the 4th Karasame that you'd play for this one. But in Warp, which is actually an Ice Wind deck, it's not terrible actually.
It's got, obviously there's a very signature deck from someone in the UK community, which is 50 forwards, and half the forwards have Warp. Being able to play this as an expensive Warp card that also is going to guarantee to hit a forward, it has a place, surprisingly, even though you may look at this card initially and go, well, I'm never putting that in a sleeve. I don't think that, paying 2 CP for a 9k that nets you back a card is that bad. You're not going to play this in a deck where it's not designed to fit, but I don't think it's without its place.
No, definitely. Well, I think all the numbers, the things in all 3 corners are actually pretty good. So costing 6, it doesn't cost 6, but it means that it guts all cost-based removal. EX Burst, really, really good. 9k, really, really good. But it's just for if you're playing Icewind Warp aggro with the Tidus from last set, it's really solid. It just doesn't replace the other Karasames, but it's not supposed to.
It's not a mono ice card, yeah. But the warp costs are really good as well. 2 turns for only costing 2. Some of the warp cards we get. Vincent.
Sound the FF11 horn again. We have Zeed. He's back. Attack. Paul, you're an ice boy. You excited for this one?
I am indeed, yeah. I mean, it reads as a mono ice card for me personally, just because you want to be able to do the bottom effect reasonably often and reliably. I think that's going to help protect it from being sort of instantly dismissed, shall we say. But, using a dull character on, back attacking this in, blocking something, probably having to pump it up by 3k to make sure it survives. But then they end up losing either a forward and a backup, or 2 forwards or something. I think this can really add up. I think this is a really interesting choice. I mean, back attack is now the most prevalent in ice. So that is just a new...
Was it to make up for their summons being terrible?
Yes, I think so. But no, I'm quite interested to try this card out. I mean, be very much. I think it's going to be very much seen in mono ice more than ice/other element decks.
It's
quite one to watch out.
The card is just kind of good, right? Mr. Darksteel Hurricane himself. It's the fact that it says dull character just makes this just like. I think that makes it playable. I think if it didn't say character was only forward, then I think you're probably best off just forgetting about it.
That would put it down.
Being able to pick apart your opponent's backups, they're gonna presumably then instead be wanting to play everything in their second main phase to stop their backups being get rid of. It's hard to AMI this obviously because you've got the remove 3 to buff him up, which you can also do, just do that in response to a Mist Dragon.
He has taken the damage from AMI, so it's immediately triggering.
It's only damage dealt by its character, unfortunately. But yeah, it's. I think one thing to point out with this card is that because of that remove from the break zone, he is contesting, ironically, probably Ice's best summon, which is the Shiva, the 1 cost, which has the buyback mechanic of removing 4 ice cards in your deck. And I know when I first was looking at this card, I was like, well, is playing around this card going to be better than playing around the 1 cost Shiva as sort of like a game ender? And I think I've come around to thinking, actually, this might be better because of its just potential of picking apart your opponent's backups, grinding them down to a complete halt, where you've got cards like the Kate Sith LB, what's the 2-cost ice summon that doles and freezes all your opponent's backups. That also means
Mateus.
that Mateus, that means that you're guaranteed gonna pick the backup to break that you want when it gets back around to your opponent. Very, very versatile card. It's gonna, I think, struggle against this kind of deck. Is going to struggle against, say, mono water, but right, because it's power reduction. You kind of just get that done before anything actually happens. So it's definitely got a weakness to it against a prevalent deck. But yeah, very excited to see how this card gets played.
Next up is a card which across the country, everyone, I knew several places where people were saying, has Paul Fallon seen Sephiroth?
Yeah. There's more than once I've been tagged in a post or made attention of a particular card just to see, just to be delighted to see this. I mean, we were hoping for a Cloud Soldier. But, I mean, okay, he is a great Sephiroth soldier instead. And, the passive nature of giving everything first strike, that's already great. But, adding the text of when a first strike forward you control attacks, opponent discards a card. Does anyone remember Rug and Rufus being a problem? I mean, this just adds another tool to that belt, that is... very much something to worry about. I mean, 5k as well on the S effect, so I mean, you're probably running a multitude of Sephiroths in a soldier deck, at least 4, maybe more.
Well, we're really big on the Opus 22 one, and he's a summon, right? So
yeah, exactly. So I mean, this is S fodder or another 5k to go on top of your 5, first strike swings from even your little guys as well. This is. I think this is just such a great addition to the soldier package. Very much welcome and quite a nice surprise, really. It's I think it was the last card of the week we had, and I couldn't be happier. And very much looking for 3 foils of this, please.
I am terrified of this card. I think, as someone that likes playing more fair games of Final Fantasy, this card is going to be something of a terrorist in those games. Obviously we talked about, you could potentially draw the nuts of Roche for free into Sephiroth into Rug, and then that's immediately 3 discards if you're going second. Like, it's vile. and it's like it's similar to where Fallon was saying, where we had the Rufus Rug deck, where you would play the Rufus down, give it haste, 2 damage, double discard on turn 1. This just kind of doubles your chances of that happening, because now you've got 6 targets rather than just 3 in your deck. But this also has that longevity of where Rufus, after that first turn, Rufus is the only one that is doing anything on attack. Rug is now also discarding on attack because of this card. So you need to get rid of this as soon as possible. But then at the same time, you kind of also want to get rid of Rug as soon as possible and it's just, it feels like a lose-lose situation. If you come up against that slam down turn 1, it's going to be very, very tough.
Just going back to the soldier synergy, I mean, a lot of people like the Fire Angeal backup. There is a line of text on that backup that says when a soldier deals damage, increase it by 2k. I mean, a passive 2k buff on top of anything first strike is pretty good. I mean, this now doing 7 as a drop from hand with the S effect is really good. That it's going to be quite spooky.
I was literally going to add that, like, it's I've been playing Fire, Ice, Lightning soldiers this set, and like it the fact that they can now discard as well, but like it's it was having like the legend Zach from Opus 20, like just with him and Angeal attacking for 12k every single turn, mental. Yeah. And again, the amount of people that missed, because I was playing the Opus 1 double discard Sephiroth, and people like trying to block him. It's like, no, he's got first strike and I've got Angeal, which means that he's blocking for 8k. It's like, oh, all right, okay, yeah, cool, well, I lost that one. It's like, yeah, you did. So not inconceivable at all. This is definitely this has got to be Fallon seal, right?
This gets my coveted seal of approval that I only give out slightly willy-nilly.
Oh, well, there we go. So let's see what we've got next. We have the Soldier Candidate, which I know probably no one's particularly excited for. There's new Soldier Candidates in this set, and there was some in the last set as well. I don't dislike them at all, because I think the new Zach, which we'll get into later, actually sort of makes these pretty good, because they're category 7 cards. And even like, again, with Avalanche Member, at the Winter Cup, a bunch of us did a really stupid sort of bulk tower game, and we had a couple of the Fire Soldier Candidate ones that's got first strike, and it probably stayed on the board the longest because no one could attack into it, no one could get around it, and like it's legit for the power buff and everything that it does. So you get some good value on these things, and I think that Zach is going to be the thing that's going to make these work, if anything. But there's probably not much else to say of them. I mean, like the Earth one from last set, like that's removal, and again, if that's Zach playing that from break zone to kill something on attack, or if it's a dull freeze or something like that, worth keeping in mind for these things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the memory of all of the soldier candidates that have existed beforehand immediately available, but I think, you're going to have to look at them all together and see if there are some really interesting synergies, and it might, there is some good standard unit support as well dotted through the deck. There's probably some kind of fun idea at least, and maybe something competitive and serious.
There's the Earth one. So he just gets big, right?
It's
I mean,
it's definitely going to be interesting to see if standard units can be not necessarily a tier 1 deck, but a playable deck.
And then there's the Lightning one. When he dies, pay 1, and you can search for one card and then Soldier Candidate put it onto the field. Probably, to be honest, the ones in this set, I don't think maybe are the most valid ones, but the ones from last set, I think there's some solid stuff in there. So don't write them out. Give them a try. Next up we have...
Yeah, I mean, absolutely in sealed. Just going back to the soldier candidates, I think, they're going to be a very reliable strategy for your sealed gameplay and pre-release events.
Chadley. We have Chadley. This is a hard card to really think to consider too much. I don't think it's good, but if anybody thought that it was, I probably wouldn't argue.
It's just so slow, man, and like the reset count is so conditional. It's one reset counter a turn max, only during your opponent's turn, and once a turn. And then you got to remove 3 and then pay 3 because you're paying 2 and a dull to play something 4 or less in your break zone. It's just, it's not searchable outside of is it Enema? But then if you're searching this off of an Enema instead of like, I don't know, a Unalesca, like I'll take the
Fogel or Edward or the list goes on.
Yeah, I think the fact that it does cost 2 makes him at least valid. I think the idea that you can play Warrior of Light in mono ice is somewhat terrifying.
But it's just it reads like he wants to be put in a control deck that breaks forwards or has combat tricks, which if you guys haven't really noticed, isn't exactly what ice excels at. Like, you're never going to get that guaranteed break every turn in ice, not in your opponent's turn anyway, outside of like, sure, the Sephiroth that breaks a dull, I guess, but like, yeah, it's just weird. So like, what do you want to play this in a ice lightning deck or something? Is this better than the other Chadley then? I don't know.
The other Chadleys are bad, so
yeah, but do you want to play it in a nice lightning deck?
The fact you've got to wait 3 turns to be able to do this is just it's probably going to be way too slow. Game's going to be over by that point.
Surely, I mean, if you've lost 3 forwards, you can definitely come back from that. But I mean, it's expecting a very long game for this to pay off. In a very sort of back and forth sort of thing. I do like the fact that it's not put Chadley into the break zone. So maybe once in a blue moon, if you have the right deck, it can go off more than once per game. But it is still, it's not a great card, unfortunately, considering that it's also a hero as well. I mean, I think this is a bit of a, this is going to be a disappointing one to get from your packs, right?
It's just the fact, literally like 2/3 of the text on this card is restrictions.
Yeah.
Only during your opponent's turn, only once a turn, and then the effect is only during your turn. Like sure, if you don't
only during your main phase,
it's like.
No, only during your turn.
It's only during your turn, so you could do it in your combat. But yeah, when a card is over 50% restrictions on how you can even use the card, then you start to think, well, when can I use the card? And the list gets smaller and smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we have Paladin, which is the next in the backups for of this cycle. Where it is choose 1 forward, dull it, and draw 1 card. Now, this probably doesn't hold up as well as G-Deleter does from last set, but, still not terrible if you're going to play it in something like Gigwall or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's dull anything, which is nice, dull any forward, which may or may not matter, because, typically cheap cards that dull tend to have a cost limit, but, I don't know, comparing to the fire one that we just seen, it's not as good as that, not as versatile as that.
Nothing else to say. Although Nuge, man, this is pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
We have a backup which searches backups. So on an EX burst, see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This backup for cadets, please. This is the one we needed. But instead we've got it for Ice Wind and Ice Lightning, which is sure, okay. Nuge, when he enters the field, he can search for 1 card named Gipal, as we've seen, or card named Barreleye. Now, Barreleye, it obviously got the Ice Wind one, which was Interesting. But we also have a brand new backup Barreleye, who's a lightning card, who, to be honest with you, I'll pair with this one so we can talk about it all together. And there's a wind backup from Opus 1 that also costs 2. So neither of them unplayable at all.
No, interesting backup engine. It's good that Ice Lightning now has a backup engine that is Ice into Lightning, because previously it was the other way round, either Restrictor, President Shinra, or Reeve into an Ice backup. It's just nice to have that little bit of flexibility. And as we'll see momentarily, the Barreleye Lightning backup is sort of generically okay, quite good, actually.
It's just it's a shame with the Gipol, really, because the other two Gipols we've had kind of really haven't had a chance to do much at all. And now we're getting the new Barreleye, which is better than is good. It's better than the Gipol we're getting, but the other Barreleye is also somewhat playable. It's not great. It's the 2 CP win break it to activate 2 forwards. Like, it's fairly whatever.
The Opus 1 Gipal did see a lot of play in the early stages of the game. But now absolutely not. But and
you've also got the dual element Barreleye, right? Like, which is Ice Wind. Like, I don't think that. Like, I think that being able to search that out of your deck isn't irrelevant. Maybe.
I mean, you can already search it in Element with Mog 13-2 for one less CP, but I don't know, EX Burst searching, and I think, in the right deck with the right build, this is going to be quite a nice card. I'm probably going to try it in an Ice Lightning build of some caliber, just because the flexibility of going Ice into Lightning is significant. And the Barreleye is actually quite good.
The second effect isn't even that bad, right?
No, not at all.
No, it's absolutely fine.
5k isn't a small amount of damage, and it does to all Dole forwards, and it's only Dole forwards opponent controls. Like, that's just word after word is good, right?
Solid, yeah.
I mean, you pair this up with the multi-element Barreleye, who does spread damage upon reactivation, and this is another piece of spread damage to fit that theme. I think that's quite an interesting thing. There might be something there.
Speaking of Barreleye, let's just get straight to him, all the way over in Lightning. When Barreleye enters the field, choose 1 forward in your break zone, add it to your hand. Man, that's solid, right? That will go. Right. That you could play that in Lightning decks. You could play that in, 3 CP backup. You still play it in Gigawell still. Like, it's good.
Yeah,
this is completely playable. Completely playable.
Yep, definitely. I mean, recursion is something that Ice especially doesn't really have. Lightning has a decent amount of it, but this being non-restricted by anything, any forward back to your hand, it's just nice. It is solid card, and the 5 CP tap to break something 4 or less. Okay, I mean, a couple of restrictions there, and it is quite pricey for what it does, but if you need it and you need it to finish the game, and this has been on your field for a bunch of turns, it's always a valid option, in my opinion.
Completely.
I think it is a nice extra.
6 CP is a hard ask, but like you say, if it's going to win you the game, then it doesn't matter at all, does it? So
yeah, exactly.
Solid card.
If you draw dead, you haven't drawn dead, right?
Yeah,
just an option.
The next we have is Mateus, which is the summon from this cycle in Ice. Jack, you had feelings on this one.
Yeah, I quite like it. I had good usage of playing the Zalera from last set, and I think that immediately gets switched into this one. Just flat break again in Ice is always something that's welcome, and Dull Freeze as a second effect is pretty good, and I don't think I mind sacking a backup to make this cost 2.
I think for me that was what makes this a little bit too expensive. I think it's fine, but maybe I'll have to have this used against me a fair bit before I love it. But I definitely don't love it.
I think again, it's a similar story with the Ifrit, right? Like, if your card text is just, hey, let me try and kill something, it's got to either be aggressively well costed or do something a little extra and freezing a forward as well as breaking a dull, it doesn't do enough, I don't think. Even if it was freeze a character, again, don't know why it says forward. Yeah, even if it said freeze a character as well as breaking a dull forward, yeah, I'm not sure. It's very expensive.
I mean, we'll move straight on then through to Borgen. Interesting card, really cool for limited. Don't know about standard, but yeah, for 5 CP is a backup that will deal 8k to a dull forward, and then your opponent discards 1 card. Then he'll do it again on death. Love the artwork. Character is a favorite of mine from FF2. Probably not in standard, right, boys?
No, I think you've got more consistently valid options you can play in ice that do the same things for less CP or have other uses more often in the game. I mean, obviously, if you do manage to get this off, you play it at the right time, you kill something and make them discard for you, playing a backup. 5 CP seems worth it for that, but that situation is a bit unreliable to achieve most of the time.
It's an expensive backup to then have your opponent suddenly go, cool, activate it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I assume... Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, the discard still happens whether the activation would happen, I suppose. Oh, no, would it? I mean, if it becomes... No, it wouldn't happen,
it would
right?
fizzle on the deal at 8k damage.
Yeah. No, there we go then. That's actually...
I don't think it would have killed this to cost 3, but, there we are.
It's a cat Mobius, right? That might mean something, right?
I mean, Mobius famous for playing ice. Who knows?
Right, this is a card that people are really on. Maynard, who... Oh, yeah. Mysterious woman. The mysterious thing is, why isn't she wearing any shoes?
All that effort into her hair, no shoes.
So, at the end of each of your turns, choose one monster, put into break zone from the field, then this turn, play it onto the field. So, Gimme Cat, horrible.
Yep.
That pretty much, I think that's probably the best thing you can do with this, right? That and Flans, right?
Yeah, this and Flans are the immediate one, but it's any monster. So, you could play a goblin for free and get a search back at the end of your turn if you were playing Fire Ice.
I mean, hey, if you've got 10 CP and you get this and a Luminous Puma on the field, you're probably loving life, right?
Oh, that's ridiculous. Yeah, actually, that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. That's enough to turn me around on any negative feeling I had about this. My God, Luminous Puma with this is absolutely foul, right? Because it's talking about 10 CP, but it's those 2 investments that will just, and it's not because you get 2 back off Luminous Puma. So
you immediately get 8 CP back from this. Yeah.
Oh, that's ridiculous. No, that is... Yeah. No.
Value engine.
Sorry, my bad. I shouldn't have said anything.
But I don't think there's too much more to say about it other than that. Again, it does... That's what it does, right? You're going to get your discard off of Flan or Gimme Cat, and then it's going to come back and do it again next turn.
It's just got to live a turn, right? It's very much a dice to removal kind of card where if you don't get any value out of it, you're down 5 CP and probably in a very bad situation. So
this might be a hard one to find your foils of, I think.
Yeah, there's definitely a good use case here. It is quite a nice tech idea for a deck, and going back to Flans, you can play the Opus 4 Flan, make them discard, and then at the end of your turn have a Flan back so that during your opponent's turn you can search for yet another Flan and be ready to discard them again and recur it again. I think I think this for Flans especially, because Mick Allen has been playing an awful lot of them this set. I think this is a really, really good card.
Oh no, don't tell Mick about this one.
Oh, he's already very keen to get many foils, should we say. He's on it.
Speaking of getting foils, Yuna, Oh my good God. Oh my good God. What the hell were they doing? It's Tyrus for Gold Wings.
Your Black Mage, can you believe it?
Yeah. So
I thought 3 incoming, anyone?
She's a 3/7.
Oh, wait, no, never mind.
And on entry she can search for 1 job Gold Wings and add to your hand, but she can also play 1 job Gold Wings like Tyrus. Of cost 3 or less from your hand onto the field. The cost 2, and you think, oh well, okay, well, you know, there's only Yuna, Riku, and Pain, but no, brother, the backup from Opus 1 that searches for any Cat 10 is a Gold Wings, so you can pay a free CP backup for 2 and then use that to search anything. You can also search copies of Yuna for the S effect. Dictionary definition of good card, right, boys?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is really exciting. I mean, the fact that you can play the Gold Wings on your opponent's turn as well, just in case, you know, it was almost considered too fair of a card.
There is also the body backup as well, right? The 4 CP one, which searches for a 10 backup.
Yes.
Costs 4, so you can't play it off the ability, but like it's still a backup search target from this, which then searches a backup which you can then use this ability for. So 1 card providing 2 backups is pretty good, I would say. I think it's a good thing that there's not that many Gold Wings, because you start printing more Gold Wings and this might get out of hand a little bit. More than anything, to be fair, the Rikus and Pains available aren't phenomenal.
Opus 1 starter Pain is probably going to come back and see play because of this.
And because of a card we'll get to later.
Yes.
But, yeah. Well, and to be honest, and maybe even Searcher Pain, right?
I mean, Searcher Pain if you want it. You know, I mean, if you're needing another copy of the unit for the S effect.
I mean, people always run both, right? You always run this, like, 1 or 2 of the searches as well as 3 of the activate draw Pain. So it's fine.
I really can't wait to see what people do to get creative with this one. This is a definite Final Fantasy TCG card. I want to see what people do with this.
It's the first deck I'm planning on building.
To finish off Ice, we're going to be looking at the Legend Len. A lot of people, there's sort of mixed feelings on this one. I don't know quite how I feel about this one. Anybody love it here?
I think it's solid.
It's a really decent card. I mean, you know, Connor James will do something with this that will give you a headache for absolute certain. I mean, he's been quite excited and vocal about this card, I think, out of our group.
I think it's at the very least, this card is an extra draw every turn for Ice. Like, you might not be able to play it, but the opportunity of you drawing nil backups, playing this card down, flipping the top in your attack phase, and it's an enema, and then suddenly you're like, oh, sick. Let me go to 2 backups when I would have had none. Second effect as well, being able to recast a summon in your bin. That's bearing in mind, nowhere on this card does it say Ice. Like this very well could be an Earth Ice card where you replay your Kusiths, your Mist Dragon at any point, just for this being on the board, right?
Yeah, I think Ice Earth is the common thing I've seen for it.
I've got a lot of versatility here. Very interesting legend. You know, not a contested name.
It's just the fact that it's a 2/5 for me. Like a 2CP 5k is super weak, so it's very, very easy to kill, and it can very easily be killed before it even gets a chance to do anything. So I don't know. I think obviously the effects are strong. Just the card itself. Oh, I don't know. It's a little bit on the flimsy side.
Yeah, I think that kind of balances out the strength of it, though. I mean, if it was anything sort of much higher than 5k, it would be quite problematic. I mean, the CP cost would have to go up with it. But I think, 2CP 5k is the right sort of zone for this card. So that, I mean, it is manageable, but if you don't get rid of it, it can net you quite a bit of value. And obviously, you can just remove it from the game and pay 1 anyway if you have that 1 extra CP. So removal just gets wasted on it per se.
I think it's going to be a very interesting card to see how people put this in a deck. At the very least.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll leave it there for now. Join us tomorrow where we're going to get to Wind and Earth. And we will see you then. Goodbye, everybody.
Catch you in a bit.